Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, c'est Jackie and JaYo Reviews. Today we're going to talk about A Quiet Place Day One, Day Uno. And I have the lovely Jerry with me. How's it going,
Oh,
Jerry?
going well, thank you.
Excellent. We're going to start by giving you our rating out of 10 for the movie, and I'll let you go first.
Um, yeah, I don't usually like the half the half points that you seem to like, but I'm gonna go 7.5 on this one.
Okay, okay. And I think we are in agreement. I will also give it a 7.5 out of 10. Yes. Excellent. Well, let's give you a short, I don't know, synopsis is the right word, but like letting you know what the movie is about. A Quiet Place, Day One is part of the franchise of A Quiet Place. There have been two movies that have already come out, and they're directed, I think produced too, by John Krasinski, and he starred in the first one. Uh, and this third film is a prequel. It's basically, hello, day one of what happens when an alien invasion comes to Earth, and the way that the aliens operate and know where you are is via sound. I think they're blind, but they can hear you. And so, yeah, that's the premise. And day one is about what happens in New York City. I think that the other movies are located in other cities. They don't look like New York, but anyway, yeah,
Yeah, out in the country somewhere, middle of nowhere, pretty much.
exactly. That's how it feels. So, what were things that you liked, Jerry?
What I really liked, I mean, I've liked all of the Quiet Place movies, and they've all been sort of different in their own right, but one and two were similar in that they were very much, suspense. Um, yeah, I mean, very, very, very suspenseful, edge of your seat, through the movie, and that was sort of the tone of the other two. This one, it had some of those elements, but it really focused, I think, more on the emotional side of it, yeah, it was sort of a different take, and it was much more of a character driven story. It had just you know pathos and emotion, and that's what sort of drove this story more than anything. So I thought it stood out on its own, and I really liked that. And I thought it was really well done just in terms of the character development, the way the story played out, the way the two characters interacted. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it.
I love all of that. Yeah, and I would agree with that. The cast was small but mighty. I think they had some really good actors. I love Lupita Nyong'o. Like, I feel like we're birds of a feather in many ways, in terms of like having our African heritage, and but like she was born in Mexico and yeah, like lived all over. Very similar vibes. Um, and I don't know Joseph Quinn. I know he's kind of hot right now, like he's in a lot of other things, but this is the first time I've seen him personally. Um, I have seen Alex Wolf.
Jackie, you haven't watched Stranger Things? I'm shocked.
I have not watched. Why are you shocked? Me? Hello, the one who doesn't watch
No,
TV
I know.
shows? It's very on brand for me. Yep, haven't watched Stranger Things. One day. And I love Jimon Hunsu. I love him. I
I know. I
almost
wish he was in it more.
wish. Hmm?
I said I wish he was in it more.
We were gonna say the same exact thing. I
Yeah.
also wish he had a way bigger role.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, you underutilized him, guys. You
Oh,
underutilized him.
for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Gosh. But I loved that, he had one good moment, and I love that for him. It would have been great to have more good moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Were there some other things that you liked about the movie?
I loved the whole, search for pizza sort of theme going. I mean, that's really, it's like A Quiet Place Day One, aka the search for pizza. But it was fun. It just gave it sort of a through line. And oh, Jackie, you're frozen.
Hopefully, I'm getting back to being unfrozen.
Yes, slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. Come on, computer. You can do it. You can do it. Closing out all of the things. Okay. It should be functioning a little better now. Excellent.
Oh, okay, you're moving again.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Yes, agreed. I love that, both the literal and metaphorical thorough line of like, yeah, looking for pizza. What did you think of our protagonists?
I mean, I loved the characters and I loved their relationship and interaction. I just
Mm,
thought um, it was just really interesting. I mean, first of all, it was nice having the woman being the the kind of leader.
yeah.
Because we're so used to typically being the other way. So that was certainly interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I like the way they were both in their own ways, sort of, um, you know, living sort of isolated lives and, just kind of internalizing everything and, living in their own sort of worlds and then, slowly kind of opening up and coming together and becoming more vulnerable to each other. And, just I love that whole development between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I went to go see it with my sister. And afterwards, when we were talking, I think it's just because of like, I'm hormonal at this moment. I was like, I wish low key that there was a romantic aspect to it. She was like, we don't need it. This wasn't necessary for this movie. And I was like, you're right. It wasn't necessary. I would have liked it because it was so close. It was so close. I was here for it.
Yeah, and it would have. Yeah, I mean, it would have definitely made it more heartbreak. I mean, spoiler
Exactly.
alert, yes, but yeah, it would have made it more heartbreaking at the end when they have to, part ways. So
Mhm.
for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was like, I would have liked that. Me personally. And then that cat. What did you think of having the cat as be an
It's a
important integral
fun,
part?
it's like, I mean, anybody that knows anything about screenwriting and the book Save the Cat and all, it's like,
Mm,
it's a fun element. I mean, it was great. It was sort of it was a nice touch that it was used. You could use it for comic relief. You could use it for tension. It was just this sort of added extra element that kind of added a little spice to everything. So yeah, no, I enjoyed the cat,
Yeah.
and also a very strong performance.
Is he good? Do you think the cat is gonna get any awards this season?
Yeah, I don't think they're still going to have a category for animals. I mean, it's about
No.
time.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Yeah, I love the cat. There were several places where I was like, ah, cat, ah, darn cat. I do like. I did low key want the cat to affect the aliens. That was my
Mhm.
one thing where I was like hoping there would be, this one aspect. It's like, nope, that's not a thing. I was like a little disappointed about that because I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in The Mummy. I love that in The Mummy, cats are the one thing that makes the mummy like disperse. I was like, I love that element. Oh, I wanted to hear, but that's okay. The cat was very fun still. What were things that you didn't like about the movie?
Not there were not much there. I mean, it there was a little bit of a period, I think, in the middle where I got a little bored. So yeah, there was some sort of slow sections in the middle. And then there's this major like kind of hole in the story that unless I missed something here, I don't think it was ever explained,
Oh,
which is the whole sort of goal is to get to the boat, like they're trying to get to the boat because the aliens can't swim. So if
mm.
they can get on the water, they're safe. But then I'm like, but then what? Because
Right.
the aliens are on the land everywhere. So what are you going to do? How are you going to get food? How are you going to live on the water all the time? So yeah, that didn't it wasn't logical. I mean, as a temporary fix, yes, but I didn't know. But who knows? Maybe there's going to be a sequel where they'll be on the boat and be trying to have these expeditions to go to land and get supplies. I don't know, but it didn't seem like it was like suddenly they're saved if they get to the boat kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There was no like thought about what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there were several places I think with holes where it's like also where they were hiding and all of that. I was thinking like, how are they going to survive for multiple days with no food, no potable water, like these things. And like, what about electricity? What about this? What about you? Like, there's so many practical things that,
Mhm.
you think about and you're like, do these things still work if no one is manning them?
Yes, right, exactly.
Right? Like, also, for me, I don't know if it's a big flaw or just like something that hasn't been thought of amongst the writers and such, but it's like, what's the goal of the aliens? And this has been my problem from the first movie, right?
Mhm.
Is the goal only to just obliterate humans and eat them? What happens when there are no humans? Then these aliens starve and die? Like it doesn't make sense to me. It's like why did they invade? Just for food? For temporary food? Like yeah, I would love for them to add a little bit more dimension and climate and clarity when it comes to the aliens. Like right
Yeah.
now, they just seem
I
like,
wonder if that's something that the writers know in their mind and just haven't shown us yet, or they just haven't figured it out for themselves. Because there's like as these movies have gone on, like we sort of discover more information. Like like in the first movie, we had no idea how they got here, like, anything about them. And then the second movie, we kind of saw a little glimpse of, how they came here. But um, yeah, that's something I've wondered too. But then I keep thinking, well, maybe that'll be revealed, in later movies or something. They want to keep us guessing, but yeah, well, that remains to be seen if those questions will ever be answered.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that there's room for a lot more of these movies in this franchise?
Yeah, I mean, as long as they can keep coming up with, original ways to approach it, I think so. Um, well, even, I think, even the first sequel, just sort of continued the story
Yeah.
of the first one. Um, so it was just like more bigger. It wasn't like a whole different story. So yeah, I think so. I was thinking about that. I was thinking like, okay, so if they did decide to do a direct sequel from this one, would they follow Lupita Nyong'o's story more? Or do we like care at that point because she's dying anyway?
Mhm.
Or would we continue the story on the boat and see what happens to those people?
Right,
Um,
to Joseph Quinn and
yeah,
Manasun
so I
Bunsu.
don't know. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But yeah, I think there's plenty of room for sequels.
That's true. That's true. As long as they're good, I guess, and they do well, um, in terms of the box office.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating, of course, knowing because we're in the prequel land now, and we know that in the first movie
Hmm.
that they actually did figure out a way to destroy the aliens, and
Yes.
um, so in prequel land, obviously nobody has figured that out. So we'd have to, if we wanted to use that more, it would have to, like, I think, jump back to the future again.
Mm.
But it could be interesting to see that used on a grander scale than, although I don't know that they'll ever beat, but I mean what they did in the first movie is just so great with that. It was
It
such a
was
great.
beautiful. And actually, great question. If you have to rate all three movies, in
Yeah,
what
I was
order
thinking
would you rate them?
I was thinking about that. It's tough. It's tough. Oh man. I, I I think if I looked at just looking at it objectively,
Hmm.
I would put them all about the same, I think, because they each have their own things that made them stand out. So, I mean, the first one was great. See, and I think everybody that I've heard talk about this generally puts the first one number one.
Hmm.
But I think you have to take into account the fact that it was the first time. It was so original, and we hadn't seen anything like that, and was such a different, take on this type of movie. So I think that's part of what made that one stand out. But if you just look at it, like if you sort of ignore all that stuff and just look at the movie itself, in and of itself, I I don't know. I think they're all around the same, because then, because the second one I thought was equally done as well.
Okay.
Like I said, it was just sort of more bigger kind of, but same kind of tone and everything. But I thought it was like every other aspect. I thought the writing, the directing, the acting, I thought everything in the second movie to me was as good as the first. It was just, it wasn't, like we'd already seen that, so it wasn't new.
Mm.
And then, like I said, this one I thought was just, so different than the other two. And it had a lot of things that the other two didn't have, and so I liked those things. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess gun to the head, if I had to,
Yeah,
or
you have to pick.
have to do it. I guess. I guess I'm gonna have to put the first one number one.
Hmm.
Um, in between the other two. Mm, I guess I'm gonna have to put this one number two, oh, and number two is number three, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I have to.
Yeah, for me, it's actually it's not that hard. For me, number one is the first one. Number two is the second one. Number three is this one. Like I like all three, but um, that first one with the deaf actor was just
Yeah.
incredible, incredible. I loved. Yeah, it just hit. It hit so hard for me. The second one was really good, but it didn't hit as hard as the first one, in terms of just like the emotional impact of it all.
Well, for me, this is also part of like it's hard to like not take this into account. But if you remember, that was the first movie that came back into the theaters when theaters opened up during the pandemic. That was the first movie that was shown, and so that was, and I was dying to go back to the movies again. I was like, I missed that so much. That was one of the worst things during the pandemic, was not getting to go to the movies anymore.
Yeah.
And I so went to the theater to see that, like the first day it came out or something, and it was an empty, it was like, I don't know, five people in the theater or something. But so it was just so great to be back in the theater and seeing a movie. So yeah, so it's hard for me to take that emotional component out of it.
Whereas it wasn't my first movie back in the movies for me. I think I saw something else. Yeah. So I don't have that like emotional attachment. I'm like, oh, finally. Yeah. I love the storytelling in it. It was like, ooh, this is it was just very suspenseful, very tense, the whole way through. Like, yeah, it's great. And sad. I was surprised by certain aspects. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So if you could play anyone, who would you want to play?
I think I would have to go with the Joseph Quinn character. I think he's got like a like an interesting arc,
Mm,
in terms of where he starts and where he ends.
mm,
And so, yeah, I think I would have to go with his character.
okay. It's a great character. Yeah, I like his story. But of course I would have to go with my girl Lupita.
That was a no-brainer. I knew that.
I know, I know. And they're like, yeah, I would do that. And I loved how I think that was very creative actually of them of having a terminally ill heroine.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
not, something that's typical, and I think that's very smart.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. And do you think it's better to go watch this in the movie theaters or at home, or do you not care?
I like to see anything in the movie theater, but there's nothing that makes, yeah, it's not the kind of movie I'd say, oh, you absolutely have to see this in the theater, or you're going to miss out. So
Mhm.
I think it's perfectly fine viewing at home.
Excellent, excellent. Beautiful. Go see it, friends, whether at home or in the movies. I personally think, just because of like all the effects and aliens and all of that, in the movies it definitely has a bigger impact than at
Mhm.
home. But yeah, it's a good addition to the series. For me, oh, I forgot to talk about the things I didn't like. I agree with you. For me, it wasn't just in the middle. There were several places where the pacing was was like a little on the slow side for me, where I was just like, we could have a little bit more. Like, I don't need sound, I don't need people talking, but I need a little more action. Like, I need the story to be a story to be told, to move it along. Because I was like, okay, 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 allons-y, allons-y, allons-y.
Oh, I'm curious. What was your because I definitely have a favorite. What was your favorite action sequence?
Oh, my favorite action sequence. Go ahead and tell yours, and I'll think about mine.
I think for mine it had to be the subway sequence.
Oh, that's a great sequence.
Water.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And where they ended up. That's a very, very good action sequence. Oh, it's hard to choose a favorite. If it's not that one, maybe I did like the sequence where like all of the people came out of the woodworks.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, and then this is not a good idea. You're like, people like noise is what attracts these aliens, and you're all gonna come out at once to go, who knows, well, to go to the boats.
Yeah.
And yeah, that whole sequence was great. I like that sequence a lot.
Yes, the entire city of New York is going to try to get on the
You
boat.
know, at the same time,
Yeah.
without making a noise. Without making, like,
Well,
and
I
it,
think. Well, I guess in fairness, I think they had a few boats. It wasn't just one boat.
yeah, yeah, they had a few. They had a few. But still, it's like friends. If it were, yeah, under the rain or under some other, um, weather that has noise included to it. And that was the other thing too that I had questions about. It's like, okay, what happens when there is lots of noise and such, like the
Right.
rain and stuff? Where do these aliens go? What do
Yeah.
they do?
Yeah. Like when they hear thunder, do they go crazy or
Yeah. Do they hide? Do they like I would love for that to be answered. Because it's like, okay, I'm glad that like that's something that affects them. How does it affect them? Right? Yeah. Does it kill them? That would be great. Like die under the rain? Probably not. But yeah. And there were so many sent too. It's like, yeah, lots of questions about the aliens. So many. Do they have a language? Tell us more about the aliens, John Krasinski. Not that I really care. I care more about the humans, of course. But yeah.
Well, it wasn't his original story. Somebody else wrote it, and then he kind of took it and did a rewrite, directed it, and all that. But
Okay.
somebody else wrote the original story.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. I mean, it's very similar to for me, like franchises like Resident Evil and things like that, where I was like, there's monster or Dawn of the Dead. They're monsters, they're people, and we like figure out like how do they survive or not survive. Um, and I love all these franchises. Um, some movies are better than others. But I think I've watched every single Resident Evil movie that there is multiple times. I know. Come at me. Um, and I really like Dawn of the Dead. I wish they had continued that franchise. That movie, one movie was really good.
Right. It was Brian Woods and Scott Beck that wrote the original story.
Okay. And has he written other stories?
He, uh, yes, since yeah, I'm trying to. What did they write before? I think that was what kind of put them on the map. They only had done like shorts and stuff before that.
Mm,
Um, yeah, nothing that you would know, that anyone would know.
gotcha.
So they had something new that was coming out. Oh yeah, let me see. Oh, that's a new. Oh yeah. Oh right. They wrote. There's a movie coming out which looks really good called called Heretic.
Okay.
Trailer for that. It's about these Mormon girls that go to this guy's house and he kind of keeps them trapped and yeah, it looks really.
Okay. Huh. Something to watch out for. Excellent. Well, thank you, Jerry, as always, for
My pleasure.
reviewing this with me. This was fun. And hope to catch y'all at our next review. Au revoir.